hear us even
Hello,
clearer.
everyone. Thank you for joining us at World of Pets podcast. We love having you here on a weekly basis. And, we want our pets to live as long as possible, but we want that to be a good quality life. So to that end, we on this podcast explore all things about pets and animals so that we can have them around for a long time, but they are living a quality life. So again, thank you for joining us. Take it away, hosts.
Well, good evening and welcome in. I am the amazing Anthony, and my co-host tonight, David, is not available with us tonight. So you guys get the privilege, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, of being with me. As always, we want to thank our main and primary and founding sponsor, Deb, over at Deb's Pets. That's DEBSPETS.com for all your human and pet wellness needs. Tonight, Joe Pérez-Ribas is joining us. Thanks for joining us, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, my pleasure. So we're recording this a little bit early. What part of the country are you in, Joe?
Tampa, Florida, where all the fun is, and now pouring down rain.
Yeah. Are the Lightning still in the playoffs?
Sorry to not be able to inform you about sports because I don't follow. I work in the tech world. I hardly follow sports anymore, so I couldn't even give you any. That would have to be online.
Yeah. Cool. Well, from what I understand, Joe, you are a pet and rental expert. So you're with renting with pets, and the challenges that pet owners face is what we're going to discuss tonight. But before we get into that, why don't you introduce yourself and let our viewers know anything that you want them to know about yourself?
Well, for one, it's here originally from Ohio, Cincinnati. Parts of it's called Germantown. Been down here in Tampa, Florida for about actually 31, nearly 32 years. And my parents, when my dad retired, told me I could take refuge and come down here, and I never left. I decided to stay down here in the South. So maybe Confederate, former Yankee, don't take it against me. But I've been working in the tech world for about 25 years, actually. And a background probably not fully seen behind me, but I do own a business that actually is a merger, started last year. And the evolution of that was from the work I've done locally here in Tampa to actually help residents. Now I'm going into a business-to-business direction itself. And yes, I did have pets in the past. Formerly, and I'm actually now residing in the complex 14 years, and I have seen the differences about canine owners and cat owners. And we have a lot of stray cats, which is bizarre in this actual complex I live in.
So what made you interested in this topic of pets and renting?
Mainly because of the fact that since I am a former pet owner and had the experiences I've had learning about the different species intrigued me. And that way I could share my experiences, encounters, and I guess you could say balance stories between tragedies as well as joys, if you will, because they're excellent memories.
Good. Well, I'm looking forward to this because I have rented and had pets, and look forward to picking a little bit of your brain and seeing what we can't learn today as an audience. So,
sure.
Once again, thanks for joining us, Joe. We're going to have we're going to talk a little bit first about the reality of renting with pets and what that looks like.
Right.
So what are some of the biggest struggles that pet owners run into when renting?
Mostly to see if the complex, for one, accepts pets. What is their policy as far as even the type of pets? Majority are usually mammal, between canines and felines. Also sizes, responsibilities as far as maintenance, the relationship between the pet as well as the owner, and if the actual leasing manager is open to it, or if they are a pet owner, more beneficial. But sometimes it can be a little bit different. So it's unique across the nation as far as how that agreement can be.
Now, what about the difference between renting, let's say, in an apartment complex or a just a standalone home, like a private rental, maybe, or maybe there's a property management company, but it's a standalone home. So are you seeing differences in that? And if so, what are those differences?
Well, the difference is that I have experience because I've been mostly renting apartments. Obviously, rental homes will be different because a little bit more freedom there, slash condominiums, townhouse type of rental direction might be also just as maybe more flexible, I would say, comparison to renting a house. But rentals of actual apartments, depending on the size of the complex, like where I live, it has about actually 240 units,
Mm.
but they're all different sizes from single to 3 bedrooms. And the lease that I actually discovered and read kind of carefully, especially in a pet part, there are limitations as far as size. Although I've seen the large size dogs and mid-sized dogs and mini dogs or miniatures. Majority usually go for miniatures. But again, it varies on the complex, the management direction. If it's a single manager or corporation, there will be varying actual adaptations or regulations and policies involved. And that way I did have seen itself. So again, it all varies. It depends.
Okay. Now, what about the differences in the breeds? Like, are cats and dogs viewed differently by landlords and property managers?
I believe so because the fact that dogs are higher maintenance, even though because the dogs, especially taken outside, some places require leashes. And then when the dogs do their business outside, especially number two, it is responsibility at most complexes for the actual owners to pick up the feces itself. Cats are very unique because even the cat that I had, territorial as well as domestic, so it's kind of combination. But obviously, the difference there is going to be having an actual cane in the house, if you will, or have their litter box because that's where it's maintained there. But again, that depends on the actual owner. Now, if it's more than one cat or dog or combination of, I would find that to be more expensive, especially on the veterinary side for the insurance to cover the animal, depending on their age, especially if they're cubs or kittens, there'll be a difference there. And then as they grow up and get bigger, it also varies too. Because I mean, the main thing as they're concerned is like hair in the environment itself, especially in the home. Because if a person actually has allergies, they're screwed. But if they actually do take medications for those allergies to maintain for a very hairy pet, it's also the grooming side, which costs more money too. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of variables involved. But yeah, I mean, you're going to see so many differences. It's going to be crazy. And speaking as a former owner, I know.
Right, yeah. You know, and dogs tend to be a little bit noisier than cats are.
It depends again, because cats also, just like puppies, love wiring. Don't ask me why they got the attraction to wiring. It drives me nuts. And look at that tech. I mean, that's why you think I'll have a cat in my home now.
Right, yeah.
I'd have to actually control the environment that when I do actually get a bigger apartment, 2 or 3 bedroom, that the one room that I'm going to keep as den stays locked away for the cat because I don't want it to be attracting to all that, or else I had to put up, these things in probably protected bars or pipes for the wiring, so that won't be triggering them because they're naturally curious.
Yeah, and another thing that cats tend to like to do is, as they're climbing and jumping on top of stuff, sometimes they'll bat things around. So you might have like something valuable that maybe is an antique and you got it on a high shelf, and next thing you know, your cat has knocked it down and or broken it. And cats seem to have that tendency. My daughter has one of those creatures here, the ones that they call a cat, and she has one. And it does that all over my house. It's jumping up.
Curiosity is not wrong in the cliche. Curiosity kills the cat because.
Oh my goodness.
Have you ever faced it? I'm sure you have. I have not. Cats have more curiosity in the kitchen than anywhere else, especially when you start to go cooking in there. They hear the shaking of the box or the bag. Immediately you're thinking, well, what about me? They want to climb over everything to get your attention to get that meal. Yeah.
Yes. They said that curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah.
But satisfaction brought it back. So I don't know. We'll
that should be another conversation for another time.
That's another conversation. You talked a little bit earlier about the expense. Now, and you talked about the dog cat combination in a rental, albeit an apartment, townhouse, duplex, standalone house, whatever the situation may be. In your experiences, have you found a difference between the amount of deposit due for a dog, a cat, and then a combination of the two?
As an example, from where I live, the deposit's consistent, thankfully. Okay. I don't know. Other complexes might vary it, but I think they're also trying to keep it uniform, as far as just to have a pet. Or if they do want to have two pets, I don't know if they double it or if the deposit increases in some manner. But then I'm trying to remember if it's annual or monthly, and I think it's monthly. But either way, it's at the discretion of the tenant, who is actually their name on the lease, as far as what's the agreement with the landlord when then acquiring that apartment, or if they actually, maybe they get another roommate, then that roommate happens to also have a pet. Well, then they'll modify the agreement at that point and realize if there is additional cost or not. I presume yes, it would be a logical sense in my mind. But then, just adds, like I mentioned earlier, more expense also on food, all the other things you got to buy for the pet, because the pets can't go out and buy anything for themselves because they rely on us. So, the veterinary visits, which is probably once a month, I'm presuming, food, maintenance, all that stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the next topic of discussion we're going to talk about is what pet owners should do before renting. One of the key questions in here is what details in the pet policies do people often overlook?
Sometimes I think too many. Because I take for granted, I think, but then pet owners may actually experience very commonality of questions regarding size, type, breed. What else is it? Yeah, how long have they had the pet? How old is the pet? Is it new to the family? Have you had for X amount of years? Is it hairy? But then the pet's probably gonna be with them, or it could be in the car. Who knows? Depending on the actual interview itself. And then the owner or of the complex will probably then go through what their policies are to then see, if it's higher maintenance and if that's accepted or rejected, basically denied, which at that point, then they'll know whether they cannot then do business together, where the person can't move in that complex, or if they can. It's going to vary.
How can renters make themselves look more responsible to the landlords or property managers that might make them, if there's a hesitation on the management part, that would make them less hesitant?
I'm only suspecting of actually their prejudice about, owning pets, and then it would be maybe more restrictive, which to me be stupid, because the fact that though I don't own a pet, I intend to actually eventually get myself a feline, even though I'm not showing any disrespect towards dogs. But dogs to me are a bit more effort, because taking them out for walks, though it's healthy for me to do that. Dog need, especially the breed. I mean, you're familiar with the Chihuahuas. They're the highest energy based dogs that I know of. I don't know of any other breed of canine that's more energy than a dinky little midget of an actual dog. That sucker yeah, they're very aggressive. But if they don't get a chance to run around, they will lose their minds. I know that from experience, because they do lose literally their psychological surrounding, because they're stuck in a little box. Like, no, they want to get the hell out and actually run around. If they don't get a chance to run around, they're not going to expend their energy, which relaxes them later on. And yes, you're probably familiar as much as I am. On the canine side, one of us in the household is going to be the alpha, basically the leading actual part of their pack. As far as felines, they're different. They don't have a pack. They just basically like, I do what the hell I want, as I want, whenever I want. I will either like you or I won't, because I'll hiss at you.
Yes, exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, cats. I will leave the majority of my opinions to myself, I guess.
I don't doubt.
I know vaccination records are important for a lot of things, anywhere from grooming your pet to certain places that you live. So talk about the importance of vaccination records, keeping good records, what records might be needed before a place would agree to let you have a pet while you're renting.
They'll be looking for that anyways. And if the records are outdated, they'll probably give a time frame, presumably a week or 2 weeks, best guess, or maybe within a month, in order to actually make sure that the actual pet is currently vaccinated. Because if the records are too outdated, I honestly forget how long the oldest vaccination should be for the pets. But that way it avoids, obviously, for any kind of like rabies or any other infections, should the pet get aggressive with any of the other neighbors. And that's the biggest area that they actually look at. As far as cost, I couldn't tell you because I've been so out of date. I don't even remember what the heck the cost is. I don't know if it varies per state, by the way, or per town. I presume they're all uniform, but I'm guessing maybe $100 or more. I'm not really sure.
Well, so my dog recently had her rabies vaccine expire. I think it's less than $100 with the appointment, or right
Okay.
around $100 with the appointment. I live in Arizona, and of course, most of our veterinary clinics out here are independently owned. And so, to the best of my recollection, I think it was around $100, give or take a little bit, to get her updated on her vaccinations. But specifically, are there specific vaccinations that maybe a landlord or property manager is looking at and saying, okay, if that one expired, maybe we can work with that, but this one we're going to require more often than not?
That would be logical sense itself, but then vaccination is a good question you're asking, because I figured the only one vaccination is type for the actual animals, because I don't know if cats use it different from dogs. I presume they may be uniform, but logically speaking, if there are more than one, what are the ones that are required to be acceptable by the landlord to accept that pet into the complex or that building, so that way won't be any issues at all, despite the fact that the canine is more outdoors than the cat might be. And the other stupid thing that actually I realized in this last, 10 years, though I've been living in this complex, I actually seen, which to me surprised me, cats with leashes. I'm like, since when? But there are cats that actually get leashes because of the fact that that's probably how the owner, wants to make sure that their own pet doesn't stray off.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost as crazy as pineapple on pizza, right? I mean, who in the world does that? I mean, oh, my son does. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway,
you got your answer? I like onions. That's me.
This guy right here. He'll put pineapple on his pizza.
Pineapples aren't bad on pizza, man. It's still
I don't
sweet.
think he'll put a leash on a cat, but he'll put pineapple on pizza.
That's fine.
I'm gonna put a leash on the cat.
Just don't put a hamburger on a pizza.
Those are the leash on a cat type of people right there. Pineapple on a pizza equals leash on a cat. Okay? That's what
You can get some bop on his face just like a dog would do to you. This guy cracks me up.
So awesome.
We are entertaining. We're entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about dogs and cats, specifically in apartment living. Now, what I will say about this is I've had both in apartments.
Okay.
I don't currently live in an apartment, but I've had both. But I'm interested in picking your brain about this. So the first question I have is, do cats and dogs handle apartment life differently, and how?
I don't see why they would. I mean, keep in mind that dogs have their own, in a sense, behaviorism, depending on the breed. Cats are very unique themselves because the fact that the senses on both species actually vary. Dogs are more sensitive, I think, on the hearing as well as smell, where cats do hear also sensitive, but their smell, I'm not really sure if that sense is really strong, but I know their visual cortex, very unique to us. And the sensitivity they have on both by our energies, meaning what we provoke or provide, either we're going to be a threat or if we're calm and relaxed, we are more receiving for them. And that way, if we are calm and relaxed, kind of like the pet whisperer explained one time, or dog whisperer, it's very true. I in my opinion, I think cats might be more sensitive than dogs, but you've had both. So have you seen a difference between yours too?
I think to go back a little bit to what you were touching on earlier about the difference in the energies and the needs of the animals.
Yeah.
Dogs obviously need to get out and walk. They need to use the facilities outside. They don't have any way without messing in your house and causing a problem of relieving themselves inside.
Right.
So in that aspect of it, the needs are different. My personal opinion is, I'm not a big fan of cats, but my personal opinion is,
I won't take an offense to that.
I like cats. They taste like chicken. But anyway, but in an apartment complex or in an apartment itself, I can see the attraction of a cat because it's a much more, as you were touching on earlier, a much more low maintenance animal than a dog. So in a smaller, more confined space.
Yeah.
Now, here's the deal. Where I live in Southern Arizona, for the most part, an outdoor cat is a dead cat. So all of your cats have to stay inside. I mean,
Oh
the
my
amount,
gosh! So you're
the
over
amount of
there.
predators,
Cats are praise.
yeah,
Wow.
the amount of predators we have out here. I put it this way: nope, myself nor any of my family or friends have ever successfully had an outdoor cat in Arizona or in
Probably
Southern.
for a wise reason.
Right. So, um, so for that reason, it's a little more difficult because they have to stay inside all the time.
See here in the contrast of my complex, the cats strays are actually the ones that are more like the predators, and they're for the rodents,
Right.
and they fight for territory. I've never seen it before. I'm like, what? And because the cat I owned, he didn't fight for territory. He fought to actually get the prey and bring it to me as a prize. He didn't eat it. He just killed
Right.
it. I'm like, what the hell, man?
It was a gift. It was a gift.
He was cool.
How can people help their pets adjust to smaller spaces like an apartment?
Good question too. Behavioral actual adjustments is up to us. If we do not give the energy for the animals to realize this is a safe place when we assess it, meaning review it, and also make it friendly for them, they're going to know, and they'll be very aggressive. That takes time, patience, and always an action. It's not what we say. Our words are meaningless to them. It's really more about our attitude, our mentality, our energy we provide. Attitude is everything because they read that. So if our attitude is always peaceful, calm, respectful, they will echo it because they're like mirrors partially. Now, obviously, difference between the dog and the cat. Keep that in mind. So for me on felines, because I have more attraction towards felines myself, I'll be adapting for what the feline needs. The dog sometimes might seem a little bit easier for me because the fact I'm like, you're not as in tune as I am. Right?
Right. It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's talk about in a pet and renting or leasing situation. Let's talk about landlord and tenant communication. How
Okay.
should how should a tenant handle complaints and concerns about their pet?
Well, that's actually interesting itself because if, like, say, a cat's a whiner or a dog is a whiner, or even so excited it barks too much, in a complex like mine that has like paper walls, it sometimes feels that way. It's
Yep.
actually then the responsibility of that tenant neighbor who does not maybe have any pets, like I don't have any pets, if they tolerate or if they actually call out either directly to the neighbor about their pet when they're home, or
Mhm.
go through the landlord. Let the landlord know, hey, my next door neighbor, their dog, their cat is really annoying me. This is
Mm.
too noisy itself. But my approach is go straight to the source, go straight to the
Yeah.
neighbor first. Then, if it does not change anything and it goes in writing, which is actually the appropriate approach, then bring the third party in, which is the landlord directly. But I would, I learned this from my dad. Go straight to the source first. Yeah.
Sure. But if you're the pet owner,
Yeah.
how should you handle those complaints as they're
If
coming
we get a
down?
plain complaint like that, this means I had to adjust the timing and or figure out another adaptation. That if my dog's that lonely and gets that noisy, which I would try to avoid to make sure that my dog actually is just more relaxed or my cat's relaxed, even when I'm away working, because I go to work every day, I may have to make an adjustment to actually have my pet stay either at a, what do you call it? I forget the name of the stupid place. It's like,
A kennel?
I wasn't thinking of kennel. There's another kind of name for it. It's almost like as if they get like a sauna thing. Just feel more
like a
expensive.
spa,
You know,
like a pet spa. Yeah.
a pet spa direction itself just for the hours that I'm away, or neighbor or friend. A neighbor or friend, that actually, or even family member who's maybe retired or whatever. It's like, hey, can you keep, Katie for a bit? Because I'm getting complaints about my cat or getting complaints about my dog, whatever. That way, then they can actually manage it. I'm not thinking to keep them there because they're going to come back home.
And what makes a landlord more likely to trust the pet owner?
History of practice. And that should be part of the actual interview too, for the tenant to actually see what the tenant's history has been. And if they got documented history of it as well, if they've been renting for a while, should be records of every single location and to see if there's been any. And of course, trust is going to be the biggest thing because some new tenants can lie out their teeth just because they want to gain that place. But if they're transparent and honest with themselves, be honest with the landlord and provide all history, is like, I've had clean history. I've never had any single complaints. Cool. And then they may ask, can I have phone numbers of your former neighbors to vouch for you? That's what I would do as a landlord. Like, yeah, give me the numbers. At least I can get 5 or 3 out of it. And they all say the same thing. They vouched, you're good. Come on in. Bring your pet.
Sure. Yeah. All right, Joe. Last few minutes here as we're wrapping things up.
Yeah.
Joe the cat guy. Joe the cat man. Okay.
Oh boy, here we go.
What is some things that people most misunderstand about cats? If there's just one message out there that you want to deliver about cats that you feel people most misunderstand, what would that be?
Not all cats are as aggressive as people actually perceive. If you have not watched videos on cats, which can be hilarious, but it's also understanding their behaviors. They're smacking your face is only because maybe and it might even be a tap. It won't be a little smack. They're smacking because they're angry or they don't want that. And look at their expressions, their body language, especially their eyes, their ears. Look at all that body language. And sometimes they'll be like needy. They tend to be that way because they want your attention. Just be attentive, be aware, and don't ignore, because they'll make sure you don't ignore.
Sure.
Yep.
Do cats adapt to new environments differently than dogs?
Yes.
So my daughter and I did a couple of shows on bringing a new dog into the house. She got a dog for Christmas. So what are the differences and how do cats differently adapt to new environments than dogs?
I had an experience like that myself, actually, before I came here to Tampa. Old dog, big size horse. He was a golden retriever, fat. I brought Winston with me because I got him acquired to me because the former owner, I was the third one in. I didn't realize he had a UTI. And I put him in a duffel bag. It had popped out because of the fact he was curious where the heck he was going. I'm like, yep, new home. He trusted me. He meowed because he wanted to see where he's going, what his new home was going to be. By the time he saw a dog, I saw those people blow up. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
In my room, my room that I acquired, which is actually premature for me, but in my room, he was cool. Once he saw that big dog, though, he was like, oh, hell no. He screeched. I was holding his front legs, and he still looked at me. He's like, you're not going to hold me back. And he actually tried to scratch my face.
Oh, yeah.
He was aggressive. But with me, he was cool. He didn't run away. He just ran back in the room.
Cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I had to control him.
So as we wrap it up, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe the Cat Man. That's my nickname for you now. You need to put
great.
that on your little name description at the bottom, okay? As we wrap it up, give us one funny or memorable experience you've had as a pet owner and renting.
I got to mention about Winston again because he cracked me up the most. A funny moment was I was about to head out to go look for work in Cincinnati. I was staying over in a townhouse. I come down to the front door, open it up, and I see him stretched out like, oh yeah, baby. Good morning to you. Blood streams on his mouth because he had blood there. It looked pink. And guess what was in front of him next to the door? A mouse. Giving me a trophy. I'm like, Winston, you're crazy. And for one, I don't do rodents, man. You do that. You're trying to bring me a prize. I'm like, and you've got, cat food upstairs. Get in there. And he went inside finally, but he was like, meow. I'm like, yeah, shut up. Let's go up there. It was hilarious to me. I was like, and he did bring me a bird one time too, but he was really cute.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my daughter, she's a cat person, and we had this cat at Christmas a year ago. So 2020? So 2024 Christmas.
Okay.
And we just set up the tree, and the cat, you have ornaments that dangle. So the cat's under the tree, and periodically the cat would smack these ornaments across the room and smack them across the room. And
curiosity
across the room. So one day everybody's here and we're all sitting around and we're watching TV or something, and the cat gets under the tree, and I look right at it. I go, Toby, don't you do it. And I'm not kidding you, Joe.
Don't say no to the
cat. That cat looked right at me, stuck its paw out, and went whack. And then looked right back at me.
Like, what are you gonna do now?
Yeah, and see that ornament flying across the room. Oh no, you didn't.
Never challenge a cat. They will beat you with it.
Yes. Well, Joe, thanks again for joining us today and for
my pleasure.
sharing
Thanks for having me here.
Your wealth of knowledge and information with us. And as we conclude, if there's just one message you want to put out there in conclusion, what would that be for our listeners and viewers?
Honestly, for those of you who are considering being pet owners, study, do your research, learn, and adapt for whatever pet to actually, especially if it's a mammal, cat, or dog, doesn't make any difference. Learn about their species, specifically their breed. So that way then you can adapt, learn to make the environment friendly for them as well as for you. So that way it'll be, a family, because they will become part of the family one way or another. And you won't, regret it at all. I eventually will get myself a cat in my home again, to where actually I'll be welcoming either her or him. I'm still debating that part. I haven't decided yet on the actual gender, but I'm figuring it out. I learned that actually females are better. It's just I got to get them prepared, as far as so when it comes to that point of heating, I won't be worried of the attraction. But that's the biggest thing I can think. Do your homework. It helps.
Awesome. And as always, for those of you listening, thank you for joining us this evening. As always, World of Pets podcast is brought to you by debspets.com. That's DEBSPETS.com for all your human and animal wellness. And as we always say in closing, if you guys need anything, please reach out to us. We'd rather have that awkward and weird conversation with you than to see your name in the headlines the next morning. So please let us do whatever we can do to help you. And thanks once again for joining us. Have a great evening.
Thank you. I'm glad that you joined us for At World of Pets podcast. We would like for you to take a look at what our sponsors have to offer, and that sponsor is debspets.com. You can access it through the QR code, or you can just go to the website. So thank you for joining us, and hope to see you again next week.